legends, I hope you're all amazing. We have the Savage Drive from Airis effects on the bench today. I've got my Hammer Standard plugged in with this pedal and the Synergy Uberschall module. The rest of the signal chain is in the video description, and you can probably guess what this thing is designed to do. So let's just start with my tone with the pedal bypass. Now I'm going to kick it in and just twist some knobs and talk about them in a second. Let's get straight into it. As you can hear in there, it does more than just the obligatory tighten things up and add a little bit of a mid boost in there. And I find the low mid and the high mid controls in here are probably the most useful and the most interesting. I find on almost any setting that just turning the bass down and cranking the treble up a little bit is going to give you that classic pre-boost thing. But if you pull out the low mid, that is going to be the control that really adds clarity to your distorted tone. And the high mid is almost like a pick attack control. You know, if I set this pedal up so that I've got something kind of generally chunky going on, I'll sweep the high mid control for you while I just go chug, chug, chug. So yeah, the high mid control in there is probably the most effective tone shaping tool in there. And depending on the guitar you're playing, the type of pick you're using, you know, the hair product that you've got in your hair, it's going to depend on where you want to set this particular control. In general, I like pulling out that low mid control, but you did hear earlier when I was just kind of clunking away that if you crank it up past about 2 or 3 o'clock, you start to get this really cool kind of cocked wah sound. And I actually find that bringing the volume control down a little bit on this and setting that low mid control up, it's really cool for like a lead tone. Check it out. Alternatively, you could set this up as a dedicated lead boost. I'm guessing a lot of people would just run this into something like a 5150 or a dual rectifier. If you're running it into a rectifier, then that bass control, you probably want to turn that all the way down. We also did hear some kind of like pseudo fuzz tones that you can get by cranking up the bass and the treble. So if I pull out some low mid and crank up the bass and the treble, I've got this Savage control, which is a clipping circuit all the way up on this. Just basically bring the volume control down. That kind of turns this crunchy amp into like a doomy fuzz thing. It's also pretty cool if you're using single coils, having control over the low end and the low mids separately. Especially with this particular guitar, I would probably actually add a little bit of low mid in there. Let's just hear the raw crunch tone and then I'll bring the pedal in. Just a little aside there, I thought it might be cool to hear it with some single coils. So there's not an insane amount of clipping available on board with this particular pedal, but if you get the EQ right, again, for your guitar and your amp, it's probably going to do everything that you want, plus some other cool stuff. And we saw there that actually boosting the bass or boosting the low mid, which I think a lot of metal players would immediately cut, can really yield some interesting tones. So I think it's nice that this is not just a one-trick pony that you put in front of a 5150 or a dual rec and it makes everything sound tight. You can get pseudo fuzz style stuff out of it. You can get kind of pseudo like HM2 style boost stuff out of it, especially with that low mid control in there. So yeah, well done, Airis effects. I really like this as a tone shaping tool and as just an instant access 4-band EQ on here. The Savage control, I actually find having it all the way up and having the volume up basically all the time kind of works for me, but between these 4-band EQ controls on here, particularly the low mid and the high mid, that's where the real versatility in this particular pedal is found. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. This pedal has been out for a little while now, and I would like to thank Airis Effects for sending me one over to try out. Have you got one of these? Have you been looking at one of these? Is this something you're going to consider in the future? If so, let me know how you like it and let me know how you like the tones. And if you want to support the channel either by signing up to my Patreon or heading over to the Ragdoll Bandcamp where you can buy some of our music, or our Teespring store where you can buy one of these pretty cool t-shirts, shill. You can find links for that in the video description. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.